Commander here. Ready?
Hello and welcome to a 1v1 cast in Quest Heresy. Starting off on the top side of the map, we have Tex playing as the Lord General. On the bottom side we have Nurland playing as the Chaos Lord. And ready, Nurland going to be starting off with Heretic first opening, probably going to follow up with a CSM squad. Actually going to go for a third Heretic squad instead. Is this going to be another quadruple Heretic build or another pentuple Heretic build, since it was 5 Heretics in the last cast that I'd done where this happened? Meanwhile, Tex opting to go for Guardsman here. Both players just seem to be building constantly the same of their very first unit. Then I'm going to go for a 4th Heretic squad here. Meanwhile, the Guardsman going to be placing down a multi-last turret here. Multi-last turret is extremely effective on this map. You can see the radius here nearly covering the entire, making it impossible to actually sneak past really, other than go through this little gap here. The Chaos Lord with access to a combi flamer will be able to immolate the turret down very quickly, but for now Heretics will not be able to do too much here with this turret up, because of the damage it will provide will be enough to scare it off, especially if all these guardsmen and the Lord General group up together. There is a lot of range damage here amongst that blob to actually force off at least 2 squads before they can get into melee combat. This turret especially doing quite a lot of damage. I believe it's 29 DPS, about similar DPS to a Sentinel, in fact, similar-ish to a Tech Marine as well. Can be quite painful, but these Heretics trying to chain corn worship each other so they can actually speed each other up here. We've got one Heretic squad going to go off to the side here, going to try and catch out a Guardsman squad. The Chaos Lord off to the left-hand side. These Heretics trying to flank in mid here, but you can see that turret has already done quite a lot of work so far. Second set of Heretics getting forced off as well. These Heretics that tried to sneak past the turret have also been forced off. And that turret is just providing so much coverage here in mid. And these Heretics again just taking too much damage here before they're able to get into melee combat. It makes it very difficult to try and pull off this build when the Heretics just take so much damage from all these Guardsmen and the Lord General. Lord General both being good in melee and in ranged combat. Not necessarily in melee, but can definitely hold his own in melee. And here is that combi flamer here, and you can see how quickly this turret is going to go down. Tex will not even be able to salvage the turret in time because of how quickly the immolator can burn down the turret, or the immolate ability. But Tex is going to be able to hold his ground here with all his guardsmen here, and the Lord General alive, only losing the multi-last turret. Meanwhile, Nurland losing multiple Heretic models here. They are all fully reinforced now. There are still some Heretics on that right hand side who are capping the VP while this is all going on. This is putting some VP pressure onto Tex here, who's already lost 40 VPs total, and even a second multi-last turret going to go down here. I think that Nurland will be able to quickly immolate it down, but if Tex does manage to keep all his units in that sort of area next to the turret, he might be able to focus down the Chaos Lord. The problem is that all these Heretics will not be taking any damage while the Chaos Lord does get focused down. So he either gets to choose to keep that turret alive, or chooses to force off the Heretics in the engagement. And some grenade launchers going to be coming in here. The grenade launchers will be an excellent choice against triple Guardsmen, since all the Guardsmen will be so grouped up or so blobby. Grenade launchers are excellent against AoE, excellent AoE damage, especially with the immolate. Actually, you can try and chain the immolate ability with the grenade launcher barrage here, but Nurland wanting to save his immolate ability for this multi-last turret, which he has seen already gone up, and multiple guardsmen dying there to a single blob, and that's why you really want to try and spread out as much as possible here. It's very hard to spread out within a single squad. But yeah, the immolate is going to actually burn down this turret once again. Nurland can even go for a kill the weak here on retreat, and will even do so here, catching out a couple of more models here, trying to get some more experience for himself. Doesn't really cost Tex too much if he bleeds a couple of models. Combi Flame as well, doing extra ranged damage, going from about 17 DPS to 31.6, allowing him to pick off more Guardsman models as well. 100% fire and move, I believe, as well. So that Chaos Lord can move around and pick off those Guardsman models, but Tex going to go in here with a 2-0 cap. And Nurland is going to put a quick end to that as Heretics onto the left hand side, going to cap up both sides. In fact, with these 4 Heretics, gives Nurland so much capping potential and so much pressure around the map, because he has so many squads at the very beginning, in comparison to Tex, who is now only on 4 squads now, because he's got some Castians coming out of base. But Nurland can actually afford another squad if he wants to. Might even go in for a quick tier 2 here. 550 requisition, 90 power for him. Meanwhile, Tex only on a single generator. Nurland has been on triple generators now for quite some time. But this Chaos Lord needs to retreat away now. He's taking a lot of damage here. Uses the immolate ability, but the Guardsman easily dodged that, and he will go down in the end. Meanwhile, across the other side of the map, Lord General getting a little bit focused down here. It does have some Castions. Castions with the All Unreliable going to be extremely effective with all these heretics group up, and it will also be very effective at trying to wipe heretics upon retreat, especially without their Aspiring Champion. Heretics are extremely fragile units here. And Castions, even against melee heretics, will be able to use Shotgun Blast. Their pound to pound melee that they do in melee will allow them to stand up against these heretics as well. The are unreliable for the ranged heretics. Castions providing so much utility here for Tex right now. And given that there are no Aspiring Champions here on the field right now for Nurland, could even see some IEDs get placed around the map, since the IEDs, if heretics do manage to stand on the center of them, is going to be an instant wipe. Even if they stand on the edge of them, could be close to an instant wipe, especially if the Castions decide to combo it with their all unreliable ability. And Nurland going to be going for that quick tier 2. Meanwhile, Tex is not too far behind tier 2, in fact. Even after putting down those generators later on, he did spend less power in comparison to Nurland in tier 1, only spending on Castions and the 2 multi-last turrets, which are only 5 power each. Meanwhile, Nurland spending on the Comedy Flamer, and has also spent on a single set of Grenade Launch Heretics, meaning he spent about, well, it's only 10 more power in fact. But that Chaos Lord doing a good job of forcing the Guardsman off level 2 Chaos Lord, but the Lord General is level 3. Lord General proving to do a bit more work comparison to that Chaos Lord. And double heretics onto this left hand side. Meanwhile, some very low health Guardsmen here. Well, the models themselves are quite healthy, but the Guardsman count is quite low within this squad. Nurland tier 2 is going to go for a fast Blood Crusher here. And knowing that he's gone for such a light tier 1, thinks that Tex will not be able to react in time against this Blood Crusher. And even if Tex could react in time, it does force him to buy a source of AV. The AV source can be a heavy weapons team with an Auster Cannon. Most likely a heavy weapons team with an Auster Cannon. Could always go for the Melter Sergeant as well, but the Melter Sergeant would be more complementary rather than a direct source of AV, since it doesn't do too much damage. I believe it's only about 17 melter damage. 17 to 23, I can't remember the exact number. It's very nice melter damage, but it's not. It can't be your only source of AV against the Blood Crusher, especially when it's receiving worship. Especially when there's 4 heretics on the field, that Blood Crusher is definitely going to get worshipped. You need something a bit more hard hitting in comparison to just a single melter gun. Lord General himself could always get a melter gun upgrade as well, and providing retinue members with the melter guns. But I'm not too sure actually what Tex guns go for. Given that there's 4 heretic squads on the map and now a Blood Crusher, it makes it very difficult to decide. But the Lord General is going to go for the melter gun upgrade. The Castions are also going to go for the melter gun as well. And it looks like Tex is going to rely on both these squads, or both the Castion squad and his commander, as the sources of AV here. Doesn't seem to be getting anything else in terms of, he's not getting a heavy weapons team or anything like that, but these double melters. The Blood Crusher is a bit unsupported right now, as there's no heretics in the area. Castions are boosted here with the melter gun. Melter gun does provide, or does increase, the weapon fire rates by 30% for all nearby squads. I believe it's 30%, so an increase in DPS by 30% roughly. The Blood Crusher, because melter guns are very short range, Blood Crusher is easily able to just walk out of there. Does not have enough energy for a charge right now, and is able to regroup here with some heretics. For some worship is demonic, so it does get 10 health regen per second under worship. And in fact, there is going to be a heavy turret going down in the center. The heavy turret is able to cover the entire center of the map. In fact, it's a Vanquisher turret. It has incredible range, and also having vehicle armor as well, 600 vehicle armor in fact. But you cannot fire in melee, so if the Blood Crusher is able to get into the melee range of that turret, it will be able to kill it. These heretics are most definitely going to go down here. The Castion is not forcing melee though, but it does not matter in the end. Raptor is going to be a choice here for Nurland, and Raptors can always force melee to this turret. But look at the damage though this Vanquisher has done to these Raptors, probably even going to melee combat. Brought down to half health. Now the Vanquisher is unable to do anything against these Raptors because they're now in melee combat. But these Raptors could lose a model here. The Aspiring Champion will live overall. Heretics going to tie up these Guardsmen here, and the Guardsmen without the Commissar upgrade will lose in melee against Heretics or unupgraded Heretics. Okay, so we're going to try and immolate down these Castions here. The immolate doesn't actually do anything against this heavy turret because again it is a vehicle armor, meaning you need heavy melee, you need sources of AV really, and Raptors will be a source of AV. In fact, a second Vanquisher turret going to go down. Looks like Tex is just going to turtle up in the center of the map here. You see a lot of players turtle up in tier 2 or even in tier 1. You can see Tech Marines or Plague Champions sometimes put down a heavy turret here. You saw Tex place down multi-last turrets earlier. That turret is actually reaching the generator farm, which is incredible here. This Blood Crusher needs to be careful here. These two Vanquisher turrets along with the Melter Guns and Lord General, wow. That Blood Crusher was short-lived. Trying to make its way towards mid. These double guardsmen going to force off a set of heretics. Nurland's going to go for a second set of Raptors. I don't know if this is an Overwatch mistake or if he actually wants two Raptor squads. Raptors are going to be very effective here. They do need to be careful with Catchins with their power melee, but if he has two Raptor squads, then Raptors can easily win against these Catchins. The Catchins, though, if they are able to get a single Raptor model, it makes their losses all the more worth it. But Tech's able to take down the entire generator farm here, but Nurland does actually have quite a bit of power stored up if he decides to remain tier 2 for the remainder of this game. But Raptors going to be coming out, going to be getting a second aspiring champion here. Tex now sees these double Raptors on the field here. Nurland with no armor on the Chaos Lord just yet, but these two Raptors should easily be able to jump onto the Vanquisher turret, one each, one squad per turret. And there's actually a third turret that has appeared, which I didn't even notice go down here. It's going to be a bit of an awkward fight here for Nurland. He's going to try and fist down one of these turrets here. Heretics going to be using their Corn Worship to get into the area, the immolates onto the guardsman. Tex really needs to try and avoid that, although he is trying to repair the turrets at the same time. But he needs to get the guardsman away from that immolated ground and then repair the turret. But the guardsmen are now forced off, and without those commissar upgrades, he is unable to break retreats. Raptors are able to take down one turret here. The grenade barrage onto the Catchin is going to catch out a couple of models here. The second turret has gone down to the second set of Raptors here. Catchins do remain on the field and are going to try and force melee onto these Raptors. Could even consider using a shotgun blast if he has it available. Demonic Strike getting used onto the Catchin Sergeant, I believe there, or at least on one of the models. It does do 125 melee damage, very effective at picking off leaders on squads, especially if you've got two sets of Raptors. That's 250 melee damage on a squad leader. Can be quite painful against Elder, for example. Not necessarily against IG because their sergeants tend to be die last models, but even against other races such as Space Marines, or just any race really, where their sergeants are not a die last squad. Very effective. So Banshee Exarchs, that's quite a common fight for Raptors. Very effective at trying to kill them off and force the Eldar to repay them. That's a different matchup altogether. Tech's actually going to go tier 3 here after losing 3 Vanquisher turrets. That's quite expensive losses here. Those Vanquisher turrets I believe cost 60 power each. Or is it 40 power? Actually forgotten. I believe it's 40 power. I think it's 300 requisition, 40 power. I think I've got that wrong. It's been a while since I've actually played Lord General, so I can't actually remember the exact costs of his Vanquisher turret there. And he even said in the chat as well, he should have upgraded one of them to Plasma. If he upgraded one of them to the Plasma, it would have done some really nice AoE damage. The AoE damage does affect his own turrets and his own units, so you do need to keep that in mind. Tech's now getting the Commissar upgrade here as well, so he can actually break retreats on his guardsmen, and his guardsmen will be able to win in melee combat against some vanilla heretics. For these double Raptors though, going to be proving quite scary here for the guardsman. Tex may even consider going for the plasma gun upgrade onto the guardsman, but given that he's going to go tier 3, we could see him going for a Lehman Russ instead. But Lehman Russ will need to be careful. 2 Power Fist can be quite scary for the Lehman to actually handle. But other than that, Nurland has no other sources of AV, and the Lehman Russ, while supported by double guardsmen and some Catchins in the area, should be enough to protect it, and this Lehman, I imagine that is going to be coming out for Tex, should be able to do quite a lot of work in this game. 245 VPs to 289 here, and there is going to be Plasma Guardsmen here. Plasma guns are going to be extremely effective against the heavy infantry of these Raptors. Catchins as well, if they force melee onto these Raptors, will be able to do a decent job here. In fact, these Raptors, down to just 2 models here, might even lose another model here. Unreliable could get used on retreat to try and take down an extra model, and it will be able to, but the aspiring champion for the squad will remain alive, but still taking down 3 models from a squad of Raptors for only losing 3 models on a Catchin squad is a very nice trade here for Tex. He was able to take down multiple guardsman models. The guardsman models with the commissar upgrade are fairly cheap since you reinforce 3 at a time, and Raptor models costing power, costing quite a lot of requisition in fact, to actually reinforce. Means that that trade was not very effective for Nurland. The armor and the Inferno as well. Going to be very nice here on the Chaos Lord, given that Tex is on 3 guardsmen. In fact, all his army is infantry right now until he gets a Leman Russ out on the field. This arm, the Inferno, will be nice to knock over the guardsmen and do quite a lot of damage to them at the same time, providing some extra tankiness to that Chaos Lord, which is definitely needed since he is going to, or since he does want to run up to the face of these guardsmen as well. But Leman Russ is starting to build. Meanwhile, Nurland is going to go for a Dreadnought here. Tex with no slow on his AV, does have melter guns on his Lord General and a melter gun on his Catachin squad, but neither of them actually slow down vehicles like a last cannon would. And this Dreadnought, if it's upgraded to a Mark and Corn Dreadnought, could be painful in regards that he has nothing to slow it down, but will be able to kite it with the Leman Russ. The Dreadnought, if it's left unupgraded, could be able to just provide some nice range support. Could always use it to force melee since it does still have a melee claw. That still does quite a bit of damage, in fact, at 70 heavy melee DPS roughly. But this Leman Russ out in the field might force Nurland to actually go for a Mark of each Dreadnought to try and chase down the Dreadnought to be an extra source of AV, since all he has right now is these Power Fist Raptors, which is not going to be enough to take down a full health Leman Russ when supported by triple guardsmen with Catachins with the shotgun blast to knock the Raptors away, and the triple guardsmen to actually repair up this Leman in the midst of combat. The Chaos Dreadnought now out on the field here, currently unupgraded here, but the Leman Russ is now spotted here by these Raptors. Raptors though very low, needs to be careful because one shot from that Leman might be able to take down a model here, and does exactly as I just said. And straight away the Mark of Zinch upgrade coming out into the Dreadnought here, and Tex does see that, may even consider getting a heavy weapons team with a last cannon at this point. Raptors can easily jump on it, but at least we'll get the Raptors to jump into the heavy weapons team instead of jumping onto that Leman Russ though. At the same time, I don't think that this execution is going to be the best choice here against a vehicle, since the standard weapon is much better equipped against vehicles in comparison to this executioner weapon. The executioner weapon better equipped against heavy infantry, super heavy infantry, just the infantry in general, since it does do AoE damage. And Tex now getting a bit pressured right now as the triple cap is against him. 160 VPs to 247 here. But Tex driving into mid here. The barrage from that Zinch Dreadnought going to be suppressing some guardsmen here. That Leman is already taking quite a bit of damage here, and the Lord General is trying to go up to that Dreadnought and able to actually get in range here. And this Leman needs to be careful because it is a bit overextended right now. Nurland is on his way back out of base here with these dual Raptors. Could try and jump in between or behind the Leman Russ to get some of those rear armor hits. In fact, they are going to jump onto the guardsmen here. Catachins need to time their shotgun blast, need to wait at least like 2 seconds before doing their shotgun blast to make sure that the Raptors knockback immunity is worn off. But the Dreadnought is able to fire on the move here. This Leman is taking a lot of damage. Armory Inferno here, going to catch out some of Nurland's own units, but going to be doing more damage here to Tex. The repairs are going down onto that Leman Russ here, and the Dreadnought is actually forcing melee here instead of using it as main weapon. Some guardsmen extremely low here, going to go down here to the Immolates from the Chaos Lord. And that Leman is barely remaining alive. The Lord General's firing away. Looks like both vehicles are going to get traded down. That is 50 red per player there. And both players actually losing quite a lot of their armies here. Nurland losing a Raptor squad, losing Dreadnought, losing a third Heretic squad. Meanwhile, Tex losing a Guardsman squad and losing his Leman Russ. Could actually call one in fact, using the Lord General's global ability. I believe it cost 550 requisition. Well, no, 500 requisition, 50 power, sorry. And there you go. There is another Leman Russ on the field. Nurland going to be reacting to this by getting a Plague Marine squad. Plague Marines do slow by 40% on hit with their missile, doing 140 damage as well per missile hit. But that Leman though, if it does get supported by double guardsmen, will still be quite difficult to kill. But Raptors and Plague Marines will need to get a little bit lucky here in order to actually win that engagement against the Leman Russ here. Guardsmen able to stand up against these vanilla heretics here in melee combat, just because of how much damage they took in range before they were able to get tied up in melee. Chaos Lord on this left hand side taking a lot of damage here, will be forced off. Unable to actually force off Tex here, as he does have the majority of his army here, or the majority of his infantry at the very least, since his guardsmen The only things that were missing from that engagement, or his unupgraded guardsman, or nearly unupgraded guardsman. They've only got a sergeant in comparison to the other guardsman squad that he'd lost, which did have the commissar upgrade and the plasma gun upgrade as well. But Nurland also going to be following up here with some Havocs. Those Havocs most likely upgraded to an also cannon hit. Also cannon effective against both vehicles and infantry, effective against everything in fact. But Raps is going to be engaging here, going to be jumping behind that Lehman Russ, and the Plague Marines slowing by 40% as well. Going to make it quite difficult here as well, and Bloodlust getting used here to increase the damage here of Nurland's units. And that Lehman Russ is just getting powerful logs all over the place, and the Power Fist from the Raptors is going to get the kill against that Lehman Russ. That Lehman was so short-lived. That was very unfortunate here for Tex. 62 VPs to 246. These Plague Marines have already paid for themselves. These Raptors have done so much work throughout this game and are going to turn level 3 after this engagement here as well. Only a couple more models from these guardsmen. Tex currently with a 2-0 cap here. But things are still not looking good for him, losing another Lehman Russ. Looking at the UI right now, he is down on units by quite a bit here. But is able to still force Nurland away from mid here with some nice use of the Lord General's Global. You saw the creeping Basilisk Barrage here to knock away those Havocs before they were able to set up and do anything against Tex. Lord General also arming himself with the Flat Jacket as well to decrease incoming damage by 30% on squads here. The Havocs are already back onto the field though. But the Unreliable will de-set up these Havocs. I'm assuming Tex does have the Unreliable here. Instead, the Smoke Grenade is going to get thrown down. The Smoke Grenade does make all units immune to suppression underneath that grenade, and also reduces the incoming range damage by 90%. Here's Lord using the Armored Inferno and the Immolates and the Kill the Weak here, having quite a lot of energy here because he is level 6, able to use all 3 of his abilities in the same engagement. Meanwhile, on that right hand side here, some guardsmen going to get forced off here. Oh sorry, some heretics going to get forced off here, but I think these guardsmen will get forced off here as the blood sacrifice onto a heretic model is going to spawn a squad of bloodletters that will force off those guardsmen. Meanwhile, these vanilla heretics here remained here for the entire game. Meanwhile, Unreliable onto these Raptors. I think the Unreliable should have been saved here for these Havocs, although these Havocs are kind of just walking into these Raptors at this point, and Raptors deciding to ignore the Catechins. 47 VPs to 214 here. Tex with the majority of map control here. It looks like his guardsmen were forced off here in the end by these Bloodletters. Havoc's going to get forced off. Plague Marines trying to force melee onto the Catechins, and Plague Marines with the Plague Marine Aura also slowing down all nearby units by 20% as well. Meanwhile, Lord General able to reinforce in the field here. You can see him trying to reinforce some retinue members, and the Flat Jacket is getting used here along with the Melter gun ability as well to increase the weapon fire rates by 30%, which I do believe works in melee as well. But the Catechins look like they're unable to actually stand up against these Raptors though. These Catechins are level 4, 2,380 health, but these Raptors as well level 3, and with that Power Fist are so effective at taking away models here from any kind of squad. Lord General meanwhile still on the field here. The Chaos Lord is trying to chase him down here. Lord General with 2,153 maximum health, and there's another Lehman Russ on the field. Meanwhile, Nurland is going to respond to this with a second Raptor squad. Nurland is not tier 3, so we will not see the Melter kits on the Raptors. So this will be another aspiring champion Raptor squad to try and get behind that Lehman Russ and to actually fist it down with the Power Fist. And the Bloodletter squad from the Blood Sacrifice here going to get Nurland the kill onto a Guardsman squad. Tex cannot afford to lose any squads whatsoever here. But even though he is down on units in comparison to Nurland, he has still remained in control of this game for the past few minutes here, being able to bring Nurland down from 250 VPs to 116 without losing much VPs himself. But this could all change here with that Guardsman loss here, with another Guardsman loss. At the same time, his Lehman Russ is out on the field, and we will need to make as much use of this Lehman Russ as possible. But Nurland with so many more units here, with double Raptors, with Plague Marines, with Havocs, with an Orso Cannon, and still 2 Heretic squads and his commander, it's going to be very difficult for Tex to actually be able to pull this off. Tex could try and wait for a second Lehman Russ to come out through his global ability, only needing another 130 requisition to get it out. The problem is that there is a lot of AV here for Nurland, Raptors going to try and engage this Lehman Russ in the rear here. The second set is going to follow up that initial set, and Bloodlust is getting used as well to increase the damage of these units. But Castion is going to try and go in here, going to try and force melee. The Plague Marines are already on the scene here. Repairs are going down onto that Lehman. One squad is forced off, and the creeping barrage here is not going to be in time. In fact, it's actually going to be the thing that kills the Lehman Russ in the end without knocking back that aspiring champion. The rear armor power fist damage is just insane here for these Raptors. In fact, they were level 3 Raptors at the same time, doing increased damage. Castion is going to be engaging these Plague Marines here. Wants to try and avoid engaging Plague Marines just because they're infantry based. The power melee does not do bonus damage, and at the same time Plague Marines do explode upon death as well, dealing damage to your melee units. It makes it very frustrating to actually counter Plague Marines. With 47 VPs here, 252, some Cascans are out in the field here. Most likely going to be left as they currently are. Might even get the Sergeant upgrade to get the move, or the move ability. I can't remember what it's called. I believe it's called move. And it also allows for the faster decapping, quicker capping as well, such as similar to Tactical Marines and Commandos. But yep, the Cascan Sergeant has been purchased here. The move ability, I can't remember the exact name, so it's not called that because that's what the Lord General's Grenade Launcher ability is called. But it's provide +3 speed for a short amount of time, allowing you to get into position very quickly. But these Castions, though, taking a lot of damage. The Shotgun Blast is going to come in to try and protect them here. The Lord General is going to try and remain on the field here. These Castions, though, are going to go down here by the looks of things. Before they're able to cap the VP, they do have the heal pack coming, and it's a little bit too late though, and they're unable to actually get a decap on the VP, but I don't think that it matters too much here because the cap on this right hand side, and Tech's unable to cap this left hand side in time here. It's a 2-to-1 cap against Hex, and I believe that this is going to be game and that Nurland is going to win. Another Lehman Russ is going to come in, but it is too little, too late in this game, and Nurland is going to be able to take this one, showing that the Mass Heretic build is going to work this game.